Hey, what's up everybody? It's RipJaws, and today we will be talking about the best $1,000 gaming PC for May of 2020. I haven't really done any PC build guides on prices above $600 in a good while, so I decided that it was finally time to make one, so here we are. Now, as you'd expect, the PC build we'll be talking about today will be able to run every single game you can think of, obviously at 1080p on high settings, 60 frames and above, and I would seriously kill for this PC. Well, no, not actually, but anyway, a great PC, and I'm so excited to share it with you guys. I sat long and hard on PCPartPicker.com, figuring out the best parts for a $1,000 budget without having to give up the luxuries of having a nice looking case, motherboard, fast RAM, a godly graphics card, and blah blah blah. Let's dive straight into talking about the best parts you can grab on a $1,000 budget. But before we do that, I would really appreciate it if you checked out my channel. I post PC tech videos, among other things. Also, if you have any comments or questions as the video goes along, be sure to drop a comment. If you like the video, drop a like, and if you enjoy the content that you're seeing, drop a sub. Really helps out the channel. Now, this is a Windows-based machine, so if you head over to digitalchillmart.com, you can get some pretty cheap keys ranging from $20 to $25. The link will be in the description. Use coupon code RipJaws to get 5% off. Alright, so first up, the CPU. We will be using AMD's Ryzen 5 3600 6-core 12-thread processor. Third generation, check. Super powerful, check. And built for gaming, check. The 3600 is a beast of a processor. It has 6 cores, 12 threads, has a base clock of 3.6 gigahertz, boost clock of 4.2 gigahertz, and 7 nanometer transistor architecture. This, as usual, with AMD Ryzen processors, comes with a cooler. My pal, whom I built a PC for, has a Ryzen 1600 that uses the exact cooler that the 3600 that we're talking about has, with the stock thermal paste, and has 0 thermal issues. So unless you plan on overclocking, you won't really have to worry about getting a different cooler and different thermal paste. But yeah, this CPU is fantastic for the price. You'll be getting incredible performance for gaming especially. Next up, the motherboard. We are using ASRock's X570 Pro 4 ATX AM4 motherboard. I really love the design of this motherboard. I've always been a fan of black with white tones for PC designs. But anyway, this is an amazing motherboard. Right now, it is a bit pricey, but that's because it's a full-size ATX 3rd generation Ryzen motherboard. Now, this motherboard supports up to 4066 megahertz DDR4 RAM, a beautiful thing to see in 2020, supports up to 128 gigabytes of RAM, and has 2 PCIe slots in case you want that crossfire action down the road. All in all, a fantastic motherboard. Not really much else to say about this ASRock motherboard, other than it'll pretty much be the skeleton of our build, as it'll hold everything together without problems. And motherboards don't have an impact on the performance of the build, so won't have to worry about that. Next up, the memory. Now, since the motherboard supports such high speed RAM, I decided to go for performance over looks. I chose the G.Skill RipJaws 5, 2.6 of 8GB RAM, so 16GB in total memory. Now, I was originally looking at some RGB 3200 MHz RAM for this build, but as tempting as that is, I'm trying to make this thing perform the best, not look the best. Anyway, this RAM is some pretty gnarly stuff. G.Skill is a popular brand for memory, so we can already check off reliability. Now, performance, this RAM is 3600 MHz, very fast, and you don't really need 32 gigabytes of RAM unless maybe you're a video editor or streamer, so I just went with only 16 for this build. Obviously, you can upgrade down the road as the motherboard supports it, but in 2020, that isn't necessary for gaming. Up next, we have the storage. We're going to be using Team's MS30 1TB M.2 SSD memory. Now, M.2s are extremely fast. As a matter of fact, one of the fastest storage methods in 2020, and you're getting an entire 1 terabyte of it. This comes from Team, a pretty good and trustworthy brand. 1 terabyte should definitely be enough storage for a handful of games. Games like Modern Warfare, Warzone though, will take up over 20% of available storage, as that game is literally 200 gigabytes though, so beware of large files like that. Now, if you ever want more storage, it's very easy. You can always go ahead and grab another SSD or even a hard drive. 1 terabyte hard drives are fairly cheap if you don't care about loading times for games or loading time in general. So that's what I would do if it were me, because I don't really care for loading times. As long as I get in the game before it starts, I don't mind. But if you're all about speed, then you'll want to upgrade by purchasing an SSD. Okay, and now the part you've been waiting for, the graphics card. We are using ASUS's RTX 2070 8GB of VRAM dual overclockable graphics card. An amazing graphics card to have in 2020. Not only will this make every single game from 2020 and before run flawlessly, but it will also be able to run all games coming out in the upcoming many years. So to discuss its performance, I would like to make this one a bit more clear. Usually I say something vague like it'll run all games at 1080p, 144 frames per second or more, or whatever I say. But from now on, I will put up some clear, specific examples with both high and low demanding games. So let's start with a popular game, Fortnite. It'll run on Ultra at 2K resolution, so 1440p at above 100 frames per second consistently. If you want to run at 4K at a consistent 100 frames per second, you'll need to drop settings to low or medium, but the fact that this card can be running at a consistent 100 frames per second on 4K with medium and low settings is just a testament to this graphics card's power. Alright, another popular game, Modern Warfare Warzone. At 1080p high settings, you'll get on average above 100 frames per second. At 1440p, so 2K, at high settings, you'll get on average around 70 to 80 frames per second, but fact is, you'll stay above 60 frames at all times. Obviously, if you put the settings at low or medium, you'll reach way above 100 frames per second for buttery smooth gameplay if you have a 144Hz or above monitor when playing at 2K. Finally, let's talk about a low demanding title that people may be curious about, Valorant. I can already tell you right now, without doing any research, that the 2070 will stay at a consistent frame rate above 144 frames per second at 1080p at all high settings, and at 1440p, it'll stay between 100 and 144 frames per second at high. Valorant is super low demanding, so the 2070 will run it perfectly. All right, now for the next part, the case. Now you can use pretty much any case you want, so you don't have to use the one I suggest. Just make sure the case you select supports the ATX form factor, and this detail will always be found in the product description or the name of the case. But enough about that. The case I chose for this build is DeepCool's MATREXX 55. Now, one of the main reasons I chose this case is because I have the case myself, and I can tell you right now that it is beautiful. Tinted glass on the front and side. You can put in 3 RGB fans in the front to make it look extra cool. It's just amazing. The entire side is glass, so it's not like one of those cases where it has a big border or whatever. So yeah, you'll get to see everything inside of the PC. It's a nice, solid case. But again, you don't have to use this one. Finally, the power supply. Clearly, this build is a bit more demanding than other PCs I usually talk about, so we'll need a higher wattage power supply. We'll be using EVGA's BR 700 watt 80 plus bronze certified power supply. 700 watts of bronze certified wattage is more than enough, so upgrading the CPU or graphics card or RAM or whatever it may be won't be a problem at all. It comes from EVGA, who makes some of the best power supplies. All the cables are black, so you won't have to worry about any ugly, colorful red or yellow wires. But either way, a solid power supply, you won't run into any issues using this one. So yeah, that'll do it for this build today, guys. A very powerful PC indeed. If you decide to build this, let me know in the comments below. Not only am I curious, but I bet a bunch of viewers would be curious as to how your experience is with this build. But either way, it feels great to be helping you guys with your gaming PCs. I mean, that's the reason I made the channel. Just want to help you guys out, to be honest. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Have any comments or questions, drop a comment below. If you enjoy the content you're seeing, drop a sub. Thanks for watching. Peace out.